Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take your sources, and today we've got an interesting article you sent over and really pull out the key ideas so you can get up to speed quickly.
That's right.
Today we're looking at Conventional Teaching is Not Successful in Schools, Rethinking How We Learn. It's by Shiva Narayan Taxila, published just this week, April 23rd, come 25.
Brand new then.
Yep. And our mission really is to slice through the, academic language and get to the heart of what this article is arguing about
So,
learning and,
yeah.
well, if there's a better approach.
And the core argument, it definitely hits hard. It basically says that the way we usually teach, the teacher lectures, students listen, maybe memorize stuff, it's just not cutting it for a lot of learners now. The article argues it's kind of an outdated model, maybe more suited for like an industrial age than for fostering real understanding and growth today.
Right, so it's built for conformity, not creativity.
That's right.
But it doesn't just point fingers, does it?
Right.
It offers up this alternative idea called learnography.
Yeah, learnography. It frames it as a method based on, well, neuroscience, how our brains actually work.
And the abstract mentions a few things that jumped out at me. Motor science, so movement peer-led collaboration, which is teamwork. And this phrase, book-to-brain knowledge transfer.
That last one sounds intriguing. Going straight to the source, maybe.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
And the neuroscience link is fascinating, isn't it? Connecting teaching methods directly to brain function.
Absolutely. It's trying to ground educational practice in, well, actual science.
It really gets you thinking. I mean, have you ever had that feeling where you're listening, you're trying to pay attention, but the information just isn't sticking, like it's floating on the surface?
Oh, definitely. We've all been there, I think.
Well, this deep dive is going to explore why this article thinks that happens so often with traditional teaching, and then unpack what this learnography alternative is all about. So let's start with the problems. Why does the article say conventional teaching falls short?
Okay. So the article describes that typical setup. Teacher up front, talking. Students, well, they're mostly passive listeners, maybe taking notes.
The standard lecture format.
Exactly. And it argues this model, while maybe efficient for just broadcasting information, was really born from a time that prized uniformity and control. Maybe not so much genuine curiosity or, deep mastery.
So that one-size-fits-all approach is a major target.
Yeah.
The article highlights what? Three main weaknesses.
Yeah, three core issues. Lack of personalization, the passive learning environment it creates, and consequently, limited retention.
Okay, let's take those one by one. Personalization first.
Well, it's pretty straightforward, isn't it? Every brain is wired differently. We learn visually or by doing or by listening. We have different paces, different things that grab our interest.
Right.
But conventional teaching often delivers the same content the same way to everyone. It's bound to miss the mark for some, maybe even many students, because it ignores those individual differences, like prescribing the same medicine to everyone regardless of their symptoms.
That makes total sense. I definitely remember subjects where I just couldn't connect because the teaching style didn't mesh with how I think. Okay, so point two. Passive learning. The idea that just sitting and listening isn't really learning.
That's a big one in the article. It argues that deep learning isn't passive. It requires you to be active, doing things, exploring, maybe struggling with the problem yourself. Think about learning, say, to ride a bike. You can watch someone else do it forever, but you won't learn until you actually get on and try, right? Fall off a few times.
Right, you need the active part.
Exactly. The article says academic learning needs that same kind of active engagement, that motor activity, that exploration.
So it's not just about input. It's about actively processing, manipulating ideas, maybe even physically interacting with them. And that lack of activity leads straight to the third point, limited retention. This surface learning idea.
Precisely. That's the kind of learning where, you might cram facts for a test, pass it even, but then it just evaporates.
Because it wasn't deeply embedded.
Right. It hasn't been connected to other knowledge, hasn't been used or applied actively. The article makes the point that passing standardized tests doesn't always mean true understanding or the ability to use that knowledge later.
Yeah, that feeling of, I knew this last week. It's frustrating.
Yeah.
The article also mentions something about the teacher's role, doesn't it? Positioning them as the sole source of knowledge.
It does. It suggests the traditional model often sets up the teacher as the dispenser of facts and students as, well, empty containers waiting to be filled. And the argument is that this can hinder students from developing their own agency, their own critical thinking. You don't learn to seek out or question knowledge if you're always just receiving it passively.
which creates a gap between what's taught and what's actually learned, potentially leading to students finishing school without really mastering fundamentals or problem-solving skills.
And the article even touches on things like behavioral issues or burnout potentially stemming from this passive, disengaged environment.
Okay, so that paints a pretty critical picture of the traditional approach. But then the article introduces its proposed solution, learnography. What exactly is this?
So Learnography is presented as this dynamic, brain-based alternative. It's grounded, as we said, in neuroscience and also motor science, the science of movement.
Okay.
The big shift is from being teacher-centered to being learning-driven. It's about empowering students to actively construct knowledge themselves through action, through repetition, through working together.
That sounds like a major philosophical shift. Students as builders, not just receivers. The article breaks learnography down into 5 key components.
Yes, 5 main parts. The first is kind of a motto, learnography over pedagogy, and it involves something called brain page maps and modules.
Brain page maps and modules. What are those?
This is where the hands-on motor activity part really comes in. Students are described as actively creating these maps or modules through physical tasks. It's about embedding knowledge through doing, not just listening.
So like building a model, maybe?
Yes.
Or acting something out, using movement to understand a concept.
Exactly. It's trying to engage more than just your eyes and ears. Think about learning a complex process. Sometimes physically walking through the steps helps solidify it way more than just reading about it.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the second component? The miniature school model.
Right. This describes structuring the classroom into small teams, about 7 of them. And within these teams, students actually take turns being small teachers for their peers.
Oh, interesting. Peer teaching.
Yeah. The idea is first, teaching something is a powerful way to learn it yourself, right? You have to really understand it to explain it.
Definitely. It forces clarity.
And second, it develops collaboration, communication, leadership skills, that social cognition piece.
Makes sense. Okay, third element, book-to-brain transfer. Sounds like bypassing the middleman almost.
Sort of, yeah. Instead of relying solely on the teacher's explanation or filtered version, students are taught how to engage directly with source materials like books and extract and build knowledge themselves.
How would that work?
The article suggests teaching specific strategies for deep reading, critical analysis, problem solving directly from the text. It fosters independence, reading comprehension, and the ability to, grapple with complex information on their own terms.
Like learning to fish instead of just being given a fish. Builds real intellectual self-reliance. Okay, number 4 sounds a bit more technical. Thalamic cyclizide rehearsal, or TCR. What's that about?
Yeah, TCR. It sounds complex, but the core idea seems rooted in effective memory formation. It involves structured the cyclo part maybe, of retrieving information, then rehearsing it, importantly, with motor activity, and then reflecting.
So active recall plus movement.
Exactly. And spaced repetition is key. The article links it to the thalamus, a sort of relay center in the brain, suggesting this structured, active, spaced rehearsal helps build strong, durable memories. Not just cramming, but strategically revisiting and re-engaging with the material, physically too.
Okay, so it's about making practice smarter and more embodied. That leads to the 5th component, which sounds like it ties everything together: brain, body, and behavior synchronization.
Yeah, this really emphasizes the holistic nature of Learnography. It's trying to engage the whole child, mind, body, emotions. By integrating movement, collaboration, active problem solving, it aims to light up more brain circuits, including those involved in motivation and reward, making learning more engaging and, well, more effective overall.
It definitely sounds like a more active, vibrant classroom. And this leads the article to talk about the outcome being a happiness classroom. What does that mean? It's not just about fun, is it?
No, not just fun and games. The article is careful to say it doesn't mean learning is easy, but it suggests that when students are actively constructing knowledge, achieving understanding through their own efforts, it creates a sense of meaning, competence, and empowerment. That's the source of the happiness.
So it's the satisfaction that comes from genuine mastery and accomplishment, the dignity of figuring things out yourself.
Exactly. The article connects building knowledge with your own hands and mind to gaining confidence and self-respect. It's quite a powerful idea.
It really is. It reframes the goal. And this leads to the article's conclusion, where it urges a shift in focus, right? Away from just asking, how do we teach better?
Yes, it pushes towards asking, how do we help people learn better? A subtle but profound shift in perspective. Learnography is positioned as one potential answer.
And then it issues a call to action. aimed at different groups.
Right. It's basically urging educators, school leaders, policymakers to seriously consider and move towards these kinds of learnography principles transforming classrooms.
And for parents and learners.
For them, the call is to demand and seek out learning experiences that actually lead to deep, lasting understanding, not just passive listening, to advocate for methods that empower them.
It's a bold call, ending with that question. Are you ready to build the brain page of tomorrow? And stressing the need to end passive learning and create these happiness classrooms, it mentions the Taxila model and learnography as key takeaways and points people to the Taxila page for more details.
So, pulling it all together, the article makes a strong case against the limitations of conventional teacher-led instruction. And it proposes this alternative, learnography, as a more brain-friendly, active, collaborative way to learn, deeply connecting mind and body.
And the potential benefits sound significant. Deeper learning, better attention, stronger critical thinking and problem solving, more autonomy for learners, and maybe a more meaningful experience overall.
Which brings up a really practical thought for anyone listening, doesn't it? Think about how you learn best, whether it's for work, a hobby, anything new.
Yeah.
How could adding more active elements, maybe teaching someone else, trying to physically model it, consciously recalling information regularly instead of just rereading, how might that change your own learning process?
That's a great takeaway question. Applying these ideas personally. If this has piqued your interest, the article suggests looking up learnography or the Taxila model. Definitely some food for thought there.
Absolutely.
Well, that brings us to the end of this deep dive. We hope digging into this article has given you some new perspectives on learning itself. Thanks for joining us.